Okay, guys, it's 12:30 and the most awaited session. We've really been waiting for this session. So I'm very excited to announce that we have Miss Kalpana Ramesh on board. I know she's on the call. Miss Kalpana Ramesh is a Hyderabad-based designer who advocates water conservation. She's the lead for water initiatives in the Society of Advancement of Human Endeavor, and she goes by the moniker Go Green Water Champion. Hello, ma'am. Can you hear me?
Yeah, hi, Neil. I can hear you. Thank
Yeah.
you so much.
How are you, ma'am?
I'm doing great. Nice to talk to you guys today.
That's great, ma'am. Over to you.
Yeah, I'm a Bangalorean, so I just love to talk to anybody in Bangalore.
That's great to hear, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you, Neil. And yeah, today the topic given to me is, how do I connect, how I was connected to sustainability and then sustainability to entrepreneurship. So let me, start off with a few slides and show you really how I was connected to even sustainability or entrepreneurship, which followed. Neil, I will just share my screen.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, just a second. Yeah, can you see my screen, guys? Neil,
Uh,
can you see the screen?
no. I'm not able to see a screen yet.
Okay, just a second. Can you now?
Yeah. Now we can see a screen, ma'am.
Right. Yeah, so I would like to start off with this line saying the future of our planet really depends on how communities have managed our resources. My entire work is based on this. I mean, I really believe if communities come together and make something happen, we can look at a better future for our future generations. So, I'd like to start off with my story, as in how I really got connected to water. Just like any other citizen, I was not, I cannot claim that I was, so passionate about water just the way I am today. No. We moved back in the US in 2000, from the US in 2000 to Hyderabad. Otherwise, I was born, brought up, and studied in Bangalore. So when we moved back to Hyderabad, the only thing I was noticing in various communities is we had to manage tankers. So I wanted to look beyond the tanker culture. That's when I really started looking at when we build a home, can we make a tanker free or a sustainable home where we are not dependent on the municipal water, which comes a few hundred kilometers from freshwater resources. And also this whole tanker buying thing, because I didn't think um, the tanker water was clean water. So it all started with a need to create this home, and I was successful enough to create this tanker free home. Initially, I didn't know whether we'll go tanker free, but it's been almost 10 years now, and we didn't need a single tanker. So it's been a big win for the environment and for us. So slowly, I spread it to our community, and the community also, the last 6 years we don't buy a single common tanker, else we were buying common tankers and distributing in our community. So that's when it hit me that there is a change possible if you put certain efforts. And come 2016, us, like, it was very very harsh summer, and we stay in the central business district, which is called the high tech city, and it is densely populated, and most people depend on tankers. And living in this area, we could achieve this. So this was a learning that through the summer 2016, which was really bad, we still didn't buy a tanker as a community or a home. So that was an eye opener for me. And from there on, I attended this TEDx Salon event. I would say that was a turning point for me to start thinking more about water. Salon event is a one-day event which talks about social impacting issue. And the discussion was on water, which is why I went on board. And then I started. I mean, that was in. I mean, there was no looking back from there. Then I became part of Sahi, which is the NGO that runs the TEDx Hyderabad, the city event, which is actually one of the largest in the country today. So Sahi runs various initiatives, and I was interested in water, so I started working towards it, and I also lead their initiatives today. Initially, my understanding was just achieving something at my home and then the in my own community. Slowly, I didn't waste time. I started doing several campaigns. We did several campaigns like Save 10K boards, which gives a lot of awareness to people for rainwater harvesting, and whichever network I could tap, institutions, schools, temples, most of them, I got into giving them awareness. And also, as a design studio, I also run a design studio, so I started doing it for my clients. That's when it occurred to me, aren't lake the largest catchment for rainwater? And sadly, this is the state of our urban lakes. And you guys from Bangalore, I'm sure, or other cities would know that most of our urban lakes are in this state. These are actual pictures from a lake that I picked to work upon. I picked a lake in the middle of the high-tech city, which is a very populated area, and I thought something should be done about this, because if it rains, it's just going to be sewage to dilute sewage. Like, why can't we change this? And the only thing I saw sustainable was, how do I tie in people with this initiative? So instead of working on the lake initially, I started working with people, talking to several people, communities coming together and giving them awareness that if you didn't keep this lake clean or help keep it clean, you are going to be affected, and you are literally in a health hazard zone, because the sewage is basically it's become a cesspool, and most of the sewage is actually leaching into your old bore resources. So you see the cycle: more number of hospitals, more environment deterioration. It's all so connected. I started understanding a little bit in a larger plateau. And I did some serious work at the lake. We've removed 10 tons of plastics is a very small amount. Today, we've removed almost 200 tons of plastics from this very small 8-acre lake. I did some interesting cleanups, because cleanups, again, behavior change, right? So you have, it's not a pretty thing to do. So how do I make it interesting? So we did kayaking and cleaning, and we did some very interesting stuff. And on the left side of the screen, you can see how I made communities remove the sewage from the lake and send it to the legal drain. So there itself, about 30% sewage was removed. And I saw birds came back. A lot of encouragement from the government. Also, they put our story in their yearbook of the Ministry of Urban Development. So all this was a great encouragement, and we were coming to phase one restoration, and good results with that. And these are birds that came up. But by then, we had done several campaigns, as in Green Ganesha campaigns, and I've done several community engagements, borewells revived, about 200 plus of them in the community, building around 3 lakes. I started, also spreading wings to different lakes. While all this was happening, I thought it's barely enough, right? I'm working on a lake, and I'm working on rainwater harvesting awareness in schools. By then, I almost reached 50,000 kids in schools, and through media and TV shows, and that we reached more than 4 million people in the city. But this was not enough, because the problem is much, much bigger. You have urban floods, we had to do something more serious. So you could see that what I was doing really was a piecemeal kind of a job, here and there. And then you see these vanishing channels. You see the streams dying up, and you see massive groundwater depletion and groundwater contamination, because most of our cities, about 70% of our sewage is not treated. And it is a tanker driven city, and urban flooding is, you saw this year how we suffered with urban flooding. And you just keep seeing every other year another city, another city. So the problem is we've concreted too much and there is no way for water to percolate. And we have to do some serious work towards it. And our drains, the city drains, are all collapsing because they're not meant to take care of this kind of population today. So what I thought was we need a whole city concerted, focused effort. This is a small case study we did on, Madhapur. Madhapur is an area um, which is part of the high-tech city. There's a lot of hostels, a lot of moving, floating population, and a lot of people live around this area. So though this area can take care of about 70 to 80% of the total year's consumption of this entire population here, they still spend 20 crores on tankers, just this area. So this is just alarming. I mean, you have enough water from your rooftops. These are all the red marks that you see are all rooftops. And then you're spending so much on tankers. I mean, this is not smart living for sure. What is our solution? That's when I thought, awareness is good, taking up, driving CSR activities, driving an NGO. These are all good. While you need to create a serious solution, you need to, work towards something where you can achieve it at scale. So what is that solution? So I thought fixing one basin at a time. So we divided Hyderabad into 98 watersheds and micro watersheds. So this essentially means that each watershed we pick up and we do focused action in this area. Now to do focused action, you need a company where I take up social activities in that if I take a certain zone, I need to work on, the social arena, we need a lot of help. And we need a lot of help in the private arena as well, because rainwater harvesting and connected work is actually in a very unorganized sector. It's not a very organized sector. And there's not much help for people today. There's no end-to-end solution. There's nothing scientific. It's not site specific. People don't understand the blueprint of buildings. They don't understand how to work around rainwater harvesting in a concreted situation. Things like that. So we thought, end-to-end solution is also required. That's when we started. So the inspiration, the block by block inspiration, I took it from the super block model in Barcelona, which they adopted to work to solve their city's traffic crisis. They took a block and made the peripheral part motorable, and the central part of the block, were just walkable streets. They achieved success in one block. They replicated it to several blocks. This is what I wanted to do. Do work on a replicable model in one block and then scale it. And also, I realized that there's hardly any R&D or research on, newer innovative methods of rainwater harvesting. Today you have modular systems. Today you have non-maintenance, maintenance-free rainwater harvesting structures, because most structures do not actually work today. About 85% of them do not work today because they're all silted up or built in wrong places, or they're not site-specific, or simply because they're not maintained. So these are things we wanted to solve, and that's when the Rainwater Project happened. Rainwater Project is a social impact startup. Half of our work is social work, and the other half of the work is to help builders, hotels, any building that has a rooftop, commercial spaces, institutions, schools, any one of them, if they want to do rainwater harvesting, we offer them help, consultation, and also do end-to-end. And also half of it, because my heart is into, working towards a blue Hyderabad, towards a better city in terms of water. So that's where we take up, projects in the city where we try to get CSR grants and drive these projects through rainwater project. Because another thing is to scale. Sustainability earlier was a word to me, but today sustainability, I live by it. I mean, I think everyone should adopt, sustainability in their lives, and sustainability, just reading about it and talking about it is not enough. We need a more serious understanding of this, because I believe a lot of startups can happen around sustainability. There's so much to do and so much to turn around for this environment. So also we started doing, waterpreneur training workshops where we've trained several plumbers to improve their livelihoods. They can learn about rainwater harvesting from us. So they can go back in their own small areas and they can propagate. They can become ambassadors for the cause, is what I believe. So we do these training workshops, and we also work with schools and colleges, and you can see actually take these school kids to traditional water systems, what we had in those days. Did our how did our kings manage water systems? So we start the story from there, because kids love stories. They hear how was water managed earlier, how is it today, what have we lost, and where are we heading, what to do next. So we kind of put that seed in them to think further. And by this way, I want to also start this thing of encouraging more water entrepreneurs, what we call waterpreneurs. So a child is more interested or want to dwell deeper, we actually start working with them. We are making an online course for schools where we want every school to sign up, because rainwater harvesting and conserving water is something that has to be really become part of school curriculum. So we are trying to make it also part of the school curriculum. Luckily, the Blue Hyderabad campaign that we run is also was launched on the national platform by Jal Shakti Ministry. So we've reached, places we have to, and we've kind of done a little more widespread work. But a lot more needs to be done, and that can happen only through a sustainably, startup. So, which is what I believed in, and today I really believe, because I'm an entrepreneur, there are many things that I have been able to connect, like the change that I brought, and connecting the government, connecting businesses, connecting communities, connecting neighborhoods, connecting schools, institutions, connecting religious institutions. We've made several religious institutions like churches and temples do rainwater harvesting, because many people come there, they see what has been done, and they probably take these sensibilities home, because we have a culture where we revere water in almost all our religions, and the same reverence is not there when we see the environment. So we want to create that connect back with water, and all this can happen because we have a startup, and we keep on evolving and keep on finding more things to do, solving more problems. And we've just started up, but it's been like a year's journey. But my work for water has been last 6 to 7 years. But we always think out of the box. Like we don't. I mean, I'll tell you a story where in our lake, after so much hard work, overnight we had one builder put in a sewage line into the lake, and this even we just couldn't accept it, but people were quiet because it was all politically linked and all muffled up. So I wanted to think as a designer also. I always want to think out of the box when it comes to solving problems. I didn't want to go sit and negotiate with a politician, or someone who's not thinking of the environment and doing something else. So instead, what I did, I went and found out what that building is for. And I found out that it's getting ready for OYO rooms. So I wrote an email to Ritesh Agarwal in Delhi, who is one of the co-founders in OYO. And he basically connected me immediately to their Telangana head. And I told them, see, if you are a responsible startup, you will work with me. And please ask this builder to undo the sewage and get it to the legal line. Can you make that happen? So within a day, he spoke to the builder and told him that if you didn't do a legal drain setup, we would revoke the agreement. So within 3 days, we were able to remove that sewage line out of the lake. So these are very, very interesting stories that you don't always solve the problem, the same questions and same answers, right? You find different answers and you can solve it, because I don't want to be confrontational, because working with lakes, working with wells, all these are very confrontational in nature, in the sense there is a lot of land illegalities, there's a lot of encroachment and things. But without touching any of these, what is your focus to, get that water body cleaned? So we've developed ways of how to work with the government, how to work with the local communities, how to work with the local politicians, but still achieve our goal as in rejuvenating and restoring water. And we also have recently rejuvenated a well, which is basically was a complete dump yard. I found this well through the COVID, when we went to distribute milk to some kids around the slum. And I saw this large diameter well, and it didn't seem like a well from the outside, but when I walked up to it, clearly it was a well with broken walls and filled with umpteen amount of garbage, and anything from chicken, fish waste, everything was there. So I took it up for cleaning. We were able to clean it, and as a startup, we were able to, get our sources in place, got the permission to take up, because this was going to be filled up and become a road. So we had to negotiate with the town planning department, and talk to, but and also as a designer, any space that I want to take up, I can vision it up. I can, create a quick vision to that place and say how this can become a public space. And that's how these skills really help me as an entrepreneur, because that's an USP, right? To these are all skills, and I keep learning different things. I've learned what is a wetland. I've learned how how a lake cannot thrive without a wetland, and certain amount of research. I mean, sometimes I feel I should have probably become studied environmental engineering or whatever. But the learning on ground, working with people, how your leadership skills can increase, and how as a startup you work in smart ways. It's been only a year, but we've made our profits, we've benefited the society, and we are doing great, and we are planning to expand and go further. So all this is possible because there is passion. I would want to stress on this word that passion is the only thing that will take you through entrepreneurship, let it be sustainability or anything else. But what happens with sustainability and entrepreneurship is the amount of satisfaction that you get, the give back that you give back to the society, and your sustainable. See, many of them think, okay, in sustainable causes and there is no money, we are going to be struggling and we are going to be figuring out what to do. But there are smart ways to work around. There are ways where you can work towards your passion and create entrepreneurship in such a way that it's a win-win for you. It's a win for the environment, and a win for you as well. So for me, starting off, just as coming from an architecture background and running a design studio, the passion that I could change things for water, I could build a sustainable home, I could work around a sustainable community. And today working with a citywide approach, all this was possible only because of passion. But I learned towards after a few years of my journey, that if I have to keep something sustainable, a startup was required, to put my ideas in place, to further research on, to come up with fresh ideas to solve the problems today with water. Because it's most of us prefer, at least in the society, most of them want to just complain, this is not okay, that is not okay, we can't breathe, there's a lot of stench. But nobody wants to actually go on ground and do something about it. So I think entrepreneurship is something that that pushes you over the edge also, to make that change happen. And I really believe tomorrow is full of opportunities for working towards the environment, sustainability, and entrepreneurship connected to sustainability is something that's going to be that's really going to be the future. I really wish more and more students pick up this line. I mean, it can be anything for the environment. It need not be water. It can be anything. But if you work with passion, it is something that it can give back, much, much more than what you expect. It's not just economical benefit, but it will also, give you a true sense of happiness that you've been able to achieve something big. So yeah, that's all I would like to say, and I would like to take some questions if you guys have any.
Ma'am, that was a wonderful session. I just like to say what you said about passion and entrepreneurship is really true because you are doing something for the environment and for the people, and that's what really matters at the end of the day. So, as you know, we are also on YouTube Live, so there are quite a few people watching on YouTube Live, and there are a few questions which have come in from there. So, one of the questions is, what motivated you to specifically focus on water conservation?
Like I said, it's been a journey. I mean, I just started off. I just wanted to create a sustainable home for myself, and when I've achieved that, when I saw the results in our community, then I thought, okay, this knowledge should be taken further, and to benefit the larger society. And I slowly started understanding water in my own terms as in a city-wide thing. So I think more and more I dwelled deeper into it. I really knew this was what I want to do really, because I come from a design background, but that's not that journey hasn't ended at all, because creating these public spaces around lakes, around the well restoration. I created a small amphitheater around the well so that you could have small events and stuff, and rain gardens around the well, things like that. So my design journey is also, kind of part and parcel of water conservation. I think it just happened, and I started loving it. The more and more results that I saw, I think pushed me more into water conservation.
Yes, ma'am. That I think that answers the question. So we have another question here, and I do know that you said passion is something which is really important, and you said sustainability also matters, but your passion matters. But there's a question here which somebody's asking. So how important is sustainability for startups and entrepreneurs?
Sustainability is very, very important. First of all, you need to survive as a startup. You need to be very clear what is it that you want to work around. And that one thing, comes with passion. What is it that you're passionate about? What is the problem that you want to solve has to be very, very clear. And once that is clear, I think everything else kind of, comes and falls in place. But really, you should understand what are you trying to solve. If you didn't answer that question, then you can go in various tangents. Sustainability, there are several things that you could work towards. There's
Yes,
many,
ma'am.
many things to solve. But I think, what is it that you want to solve? And if you connect it with your passion. See, I come from a design and architecture background, and water, yes, in the built environment, I understand water, but I didn't understand water in the environment. But now, before I put a structure on ground, before I design something, the first thing that comes to me is, what is the environment around? How do I tie in this building with the environment around? And how responsibly do I put this building? Because I am responsible for putting a piece of concrete on the face of this earth. How am I going to make that sustainable? So I think it's very deep rooted when it is passion. I think the first question is, what do you want to solve, in the environment makes it happen. And like I said, it can't be just awareness, spreading the word, walking around. But if you yourself are not sustainable, as in you can't pay yourself or the people that work for you, I don't think that's sustainable. So you have to figure out a way where it is also getting you some economic benefit, but it's like social startup, right? I mean, you're working towards social impact, but you're also becoming sustainable. So it really needs a little out of the box thinking, and you can make it happen.
Yeah, I think that answers the question, ma'am. So we all know that change starts within you, and there's a question which is coming in here. They're asking, can you give a few major tips for water conservation that we can take in our daily lives, in our day-to-day lives?
Yeah. First thing is, if I ask you, Neil, what are your water resources in your house? Can you answer that question?
Yeah, I that would be the general taps in my house, like in the
So
washroom.
tap is, so this
Yeah,
is the problem, right? So
yeah.
we all connect water to taps. I asked you, what are the resources? I mean, where does the water come from to the taps? Right? So this
Yes,
is the question to answer for all of them, and that's where the beginning of water conservation begins. There's water, municipal water that comes from the Kaveri, or or the freshwater river basins to your house. Then you have groundwater, which comes from the bore wells. Then you have tanker water, maybe you buy tankers. And then you have bottled water. So you have various, and then you have rainwater every year, right? So these are your different resources. How are we managing them? So this first question, if you can answer, what are your sources? How many liters do you get, and how many liters do you consume, starting from brushing to your commodes, to your shower, to what you use for cooking, to all of it. If you just can calculate, the per capita is supposed to be 135 liters per person per day, but it's much, much, much more. So if you can calculate that and equate it to what is the water that you have that you could manage, then you become either water neutral or water positive, or water negative. I mean, instantly you will understand your water negative. Then if you're water negative, what are you supposed to do? So you have to conserve. The rainwater actually comes free, and it is free, and it comes right to your rooftop. You just need to manage it. So there is 60 days of rainfall. I mean, 2 months of rainwater that you can get from your rooftops, which is like the collection sum for you. So things like that, and also have using tap aerators, how you use half flush instead of full flush. A full flush takes away 7.5 liters of water. Half flush is only 3.5, 4 liters of water. So and you washing utensils, everything, all of this. But the question, really, the tip to you is, begin with understanding what is your resource.
yes, ma'am. That perfectly answered the question. There's one more question coming in. This is a bit long. So since you're one of the first sustainability-driven entrepreneur we're speaking to in the ESummit, we want to know what challenges you faced with this venture.
Well, the challenges, if I say, most of them look at me as social, a person wanting to do social awareness. And so how do I break that thing, right? That was actually a biggest challenge for me, that I want to do social work in social arenas, but I need money. I need a fund. If I want to undo a lake, or if I want to do a well restoration, or if I want to create a green, rain garden in a park, I need the fund. But people started looking at me as a person who is into water conservation, who is an environmentalist, and who wants to do things for free. So I had to, that I think was the biggest challenge. But I wanted to break that ice as well, because see, I also run a design studio. I started taking up projects, rainwater projects, and I started making it very clear on social media and everywhere that, look, I want to do good work, but that does not mean that I'm going to do everything for free. If it's awareness, if I have to talk to people and turn their minds to think about environment, that is free. But if I want to turn a lake around, if I want to turn around a well around, I need the fund. So I need to go to a CSR grant or whatever and get the fund and make it happen. And I need to, also do private, projects for builders and others. So I have to make my um, startup sustainable. I need to pay my architects. I need to pay my people who are hydrogeologists, who help me on ground, things like that. But that was the biggest challenge. Where does the social end and where does the commercial begin? So that was, I think, the biggest thing. But I think if you're clear what you want to do, like for us, social part of it is from grants, and the commercial part of it comes from our projects. I mean, we're very, very clear how we want to work.
Yes, ma'am. That was a perfect answer for that question as well. So there's one more question which is coming on the YouTube live chat. So how do you really make yourself well known? So if someone else wanted to start a movement similar to what you have done, but in their locality, what tips would you give them?
like I said, I started off as an individual. So first thing is that's the story to create. What have you done? So I don't have the teeth to go and tell anybody to rainwater harvesting if I myself have not done it. So first achieve something in your own arena. Can you bring that change within yourself, within your home, within your community? And then you can spread your wings to different arenas. According to your passion, you can pick up things that you can do. But first, you have to prove to yourself, I would say not for others, but prove to yourself, can I make this happen? Can I make something happen? If I can answer that question, I think, the world is open. I mean, it's just the sky is the limit. I mean, you can just go on working. And honestly, not to work towards economic goal, right? When you pick sustainability, economic goal has to be part of it, but that should not be the only goal. You work towards your passion and everything will come by. I'm telling you, there's a lot of money in sustainability too. If you just take rainwater harvesting, if somebody can smartly work around it, there's crores of money in this business. Because there's hardly anybody who does end-to-end solutions, who gives you site-specific consultation. There are farmlands, there are institutions, there are buildings. There's several things to work upon, and all these things puts a footprint on ground for future generations. To better things up in the society. So I think it's very, very important to understand your goal and passion before putting that economic goal in mind. I mean, economic goal should be there, but still should be in the background. Once you have proven something, then you know how to drive it. But till you've not proved it to yourself, I don't think, because many people start off with an economic goal. So when that happens, your passion kind of dies down, right? It's a rat race. It becomes a rat race. So I'm saying, if you are proving yourself and if you've really worked around the problem, if there are three things that you can answer, why are you working in this startup, or what is the startup for? If you can, three things about this startup, which is like a pressing need of today. If you're solving three problems today, which is really needed, pertinent today, then you're talking. And yeah, it takes a lot. Like, a startup journey is not simple, but if you can crack it, it's a winning journey all the way. And sustainability, like I told, I mean, there's no end to how you feel when you've restored a lake, when you've restored a well, when you've improved groundwater, when you've taken a whole zone and improved groundwater. I don't think there's money equates to that at all.
Mom, that was amazing. As you could see, there's a lot of comments coming in the chat box as well. I mean, we won't hold you any longer. There's just one last question which has come in. Yeah, and I think this is not very specific, but what advice do you give to students who want to make a big change in the society?
So, like I said, first identify what you want to do. Be practical. You can have a lot of things in the imagination, but may not work in the practical world. See what you want to solve in the practical world. See what you want to pick. Once you have that in mind, then I think you should become part of groups and part of maybe the startup groups that are happening in the city. There are several things that happen around the city. Become part of all these. I mean, get these conversation going, talk to people, and see how they resonate to your to what you're solving. And if you can better it up with mentors and talking to people, and maybe you will pick another thread to what you want to solve. So these are things, I mean, a lot of conversations is required. And before the conversations, get it into your head, what is it that you want to work on? It's okay, several times you feel you work towards something, maybe it doesn't work on ground. If it doesn't work on ground, then you start thinking differently, right? Because ultimately it has to work somewhere. And imagination, cannot work on ground. If you have to make it happen on ground, it needs a different, you need to set in that ground reality and work with real people. You go on ground. Like when I started working with the lake, Honestly, I didn't know how to connect communities because I was not part of the lake community. I was thinking, should I do a run? Should I do a walk? Should I get some sponsor? But honestly, I thought, oh, one day walk and run. You see, the next day you don't know what you're doing. The next day, do you remember the cause? Do you know what you want, what you ran for, and do you want to be? Are you going to be passionate about it? None. I mean, I don't find anyone. You just get the medal that day at the end of the run or walk, and then you walk away. I mean, so what is the cause going to be? For you. So I thought that won't work. Then, without wasting any time, I just said, let me have conversations with people. Let it be. They might listen to me, they might not listen to me. It's okay. I started walking into communities, asking who's the president, who's the secretary, and I just said, I want to work for the lake. So being true, honest about what it is, irrespective of how people are going to react. If you are passionate, if you have a deep intention to do something, I think it will just drive action. It doesn't matter. Don't be worried. What is somebody going to say about it? If you think in your mind, this is what you want to do, I think you should just go ahead and do it. It's okay. I mean, it may be foolish to somebody, it may be great to somebody. It doesn't matter. That's why you need these conversations. You refine what you want to do. But I think you should not be scared. I mean, I didn't know anybody, but I did some 42 meetings with the communities before I could, put them all in a WhatsApp group and make them start conversing about the lake. I started with zero. I didn't have a template how to work with the lake. I honestly didn't know. The first day when I went to the lake, I was so depressed. I mean, where do I begin? What do I know about the lake? What is the problem for the lake? How do I map the inlets? How do I understand whose land is what? And when I started working, I started seeing more challenges. Like the water belongs to the irrigation department, the land belongs to the THMC through town planning, revenue, and sanitation departments. Then the inlet and outlet belongs to the water board. So this itself was like a puzzle for me to put in place. But you know what? Every time there was a challenge, I never gave up. I saw the challenge as an opportunity. Every challenge is actually an opportunity. How do I work around these three people? So instead of connecting all three separately, I went to the principal secretary. I told him, I just took an appointment and went. I don't know who he is. So I just went, spoke to him. I said, I want to work for the lake. Can you connect me to these departments? So that was easier for me. So they knew I came from the principal secretary's referral. So every time I went there, they would respond to me, resonate. And then they started seeing my passion. And sometimes they would help, sometimes they would not help, but I would not crib. I really want to say that it was not winning journey all the time. There are many days when I have cried and I would think that, am I even doing the right thing? I mean, should I be even doing this? I mean, I came back from US, I have my own design, I have fantastic clients, and what am I doing really in water conservation and that? The many times I question myself. The next day I get up and ask myself this question, okay, if I move out, is there anybody to take my place? Is there anybody as passionate? Because I cannot replicate passion. The answer is no. Then I said, okay, I will not quit this game. Let me move further. And then you start. So I learned one thing early on: don't focus on the negatives, focus on the positives. You will find one small positive element that will drive you. You might have 90% negatives around you, but that 10%, that 1% is what will drive you. So figure out what is that and focus only on that. That's what I think helped me. I never focus on negatives. Many things. Many people say, some people don't come along, not come along. I don't focus on that. What is my focus? To restore the water body. I would just fix myself only on that. And if I didn't, so I call myself water. If I go hit a boulder, I don't stop. I go around. I move around. I figure out another way to go on. I mean, that's the way a startup should work, and that's the way it is for anything. I think not just a sustainability of startup, but any startup. I think that's how it is. You don't give up. You never give up. That never give up attitude will take you everywhere.
Ma'am, this has been really insightful for me as well as a lot of people. And like you said about focusing, I mean, that's what it is at the end of the day. I mean, if you focus on something and you don't listen to the outside world or anybody, you can definitely get success. And that's what I think I have personally learned from this. And you've also told us in a very insightful way how to make a big change in the society in an entrepreneur from an entrepreneurial standpoint of view. So thank you so much for that, ma'am. We're really grateful to have you on board
Thank
today,
you.
and
Thank
thank
you,
you so
Neil.
much for coming down. I'm
Thank you,
sure
Neil.
a lot of us had something to take back today. So thank you so much.
Thank you
We
so
would
much, and thank you guys, and thank you for all the audience. You've been, lovely questions. Because I think if you don't question, you don't get the answers ever. I mean, you you need to find out how, why, and I think all of us are talented in one thing or the other. And I'll never say even a person who's student who's doing badly in college in terms of marks, I would say is got some talent, because I have learned uh, right from school through college, and I studied in BMS actually, did my architecture there. All the one students that were the best in college are doing okay. The ones that were actually not doing the best are doing brilliant today. So I think it's you should not give up. I mean, everyone will crack something. I mean, it's never give up on life or work. I think, and more if you dwell into your passion, I think every other negative that happens around you, even something is going on in your life, if your passion will pull you back, it will straighten you up and it will give you that sense of direction. So I think great talking to you guys, and I would love to see many